Hey gang, Uncle Todd here, and we're going to talk about the Netflix movie, The Pale Blue Eye. Sonny's excited. She's a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe, reads him all the time. As you can guess, Edgar Allan Poe is in the film. It is set in 1830, and we are introduced to the character of Landrum, played by Christian Bale, who is a former constable living in a little cottage on his own. He's a widower whose daughter apparently has run off with someone or by herself, we're not really sure. And he is called into West Point to investigate the death of a young cadet. Now, the cadet is found hanged, and so it is ruled a suicide. And they wouldn't normally call in a person to investigate, except after he was brought to the coroner, or the doctor on staff, someone went in and removed his heart. Well, this intrigues Landrum, and he begins his investigation, and on examining the body more thoroughly, he finds that the cadet did not commit suicide. He was obviously struck from behind and was hung, and there is evidence that he was aware when he was hung because there were scratch marks as he was trying to pull the noose. Well, this is distressing, to say the least, to the people that run the academy. And so now it's a murder investigation. It is during this time he meets the acquaintance of a cadet, Edgar Allan Poe, who he enlists to help him with the investigation. They share a liking for alcohol, and Poe is very observant and astute and makes some interesting deductions. Then a second murder. This one a little more graphic and rushed, and as the doctor points out, it looks like it was made by someone else. The removal of the heart was not quite as surgically done, and this is tying in with some discoveries that Landrum and Poe have made concerning some disturbing black magic rituals that seem to have been performed at the Academy's ice house. And questioning a noted demonologist that is of Landrum's acquaintance points to rituals made to create immortality. And this all eventually leads to the discovery of the culprit after a third cadet runs away, who had a connection with the first two cadets. And we get a very satisfactory and fiery climax that ties up the whole mystery. But then there's a twist at the end that puts everything in a completely new light and is rather sad. And we find a very disillusioned Edgar Allan Poe at the end. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a very good mystery / horror film dealing with supernatural rituals, and oh my word, what a cast. You got Christian Bale, Timothy Spall, Toby Jones, Robert Duvall, Gillian Anderson, Simon McBurney, and doing a tour de force as Edgar Allan Poe, Harry Melling. Probably best known to most people playing Dudley Dursley in the Harry Potter films. Ironically, but also Jones, Spall, and McBurney also are Harry Potter alumni, although Melling, I don't believe, shared any scenes with them, as his scenes were always in the beginning of, I think, the first 4 films. And he has changed quite a bit from his Harry Potter days. If you remember him in those films, he went from a kind of pudgy kid to a rather muscular teenager. But here he is rail thin. The burly teen of the Harry Potter films is no more. Almost didn't. I did not recognize him at first. And his southern accent and his portrayal of Poe is really good. Very eccentric. Now, Poe has been someone who has been played in films many times, from Klaus Kinski to John Cusack. But I gotta admit, Melling, he is the preeminent Poe performer. And probably steals the whole movie, which is saying something when your star is Christian Bale, who, of course, is always at his best playing troubled heroes with a dark past. Well, he did play Batman after all, and was one of the best Batman. In fact, he was my favorite Batman, not counting Adam West, who's in a class by himself, up until Robert Pattinson took the crown from him, in my opinion. And yeah, this is a really good mystery, and there are a lot of Easter eggs referring to Poe's future work. Starting with the title, The Pale Blue Eye, which is probably in reference to a line from The Telltale Heart, but you get to see ravens. The fiery climax is reminiscent of House of Usher, and Landrum, of course, is in the title of his final short story, Landrum's Cottage. And there are some others I'm sure I missed, but those are the ones that come first to mind. An interesting thing at the end of the film is a conversation between Poe and Landrum, where Poe says he will never forget these people, and Landrum comments that everyone is forgotten eventually, which has a certain irony to it, considering Poe is still remembered today. He is still taught in schools. He's still studied by people, and he's still read and enjoyed for just his writing. Anyone who's a horror fan is familiar with Poe, even if they've never read any of his works. His works have inspired other artists. Everyone from, of course, Roger Corman in his famous Poe series, to I cannot remember who made the films Castle of Blood and Web of the Spider. I cannot remember the director's name. I'll probably put it in here. But Poe played a important figure in those films as the instigator of the plot. I mean, and a lot of his stories have given inspiration to other filmmakers and story people. I think about the Italian giallo, Your Heart is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key, in which there are many moments directly inspired by Poe stories. So yeah, I found that whole, people are always forgotten eventually, to be very ironic. But yeah, highly recommend the film. Harry Melling, amazing performance as Poe. You should check it out if you have Netflix. And as always, please hit like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.